No one can forget what happened on that fateful day, because life changed before and after that event. On that day, an unknown gate opened in the center of Jiancheng City. First, some unknown red ball appeared, with a frightening red energy emanating from it in all directions. This balloon began to expand and turned into a gigantic gate that was capable of closing the sky itself. The inhabitants of the city certainly did not expect such an incredible turn of events, and as if frozen, looking at the red gate, from where various limbs with eyes began to appear at once. From the gate rushed 100 indescribable and frightening monsters, whose nature people did not have time to determine. At first, the creatures resembled insects, but as other gates opened, mythical creatures from legends began to appear in horrifying guises. Eventually, all of these monsters were given a name and became known as the monsters of the cataclysm. People tried to flee from these terrifying monsters, trying every possible way to save their lives, but their efforts were in vain. The cataclysm monsters devastated the entire city, and humanity was defenseless against them. Cities one after another collapsed under their merciless onslaught. No one could escape. One family and child were completely powerless. The child was crying and telling his mom how scared he was. It was no wonder, for a giant and frightening monster had appeared in front of them and was eager to eat them. The father of the family is still determined. The girl is in tears, as is the wife, but the father tries to reassure them that he will protect them. What else is a father supposed to say to his family when a giant monster jumps on them? The father doesn't give up and stands up for his family, holding back the monster's jaws with his hands, and suddenly some kind of aura envelops him. Maybe the gods had mercy on the humans, because with the appearance of the gate, some humans awakened the ability to fight these monsters. Soon after, people with abilities began to form guilds to fight the giant monsters of the cataclysm. Humanity began to fight them, instead of being just food for the creatures. And we are introduced to the protagonist, whose name is Suer. He is the only person in this world who possesses the 5 elements: fire, water, lightning, wind and earth. He is also one of the few S-class awakened. The guy is not that simple. He had gathered his own guild, and together with his guild, he was liberating cities from the siege of the cataclysm monsters. The end was already visible on the horizon. There was not much left to defeat the monsters for good, and for mankind to return to its former life. However, something happened that Suer and his guild could not foresee despite their experience. All times were covered in a monstrous and frightening red aura, and there was also the smell of blood in the air as they had to face a frightening monster. This cataclysmic monster was completely different from the one Suer and his guild had seen before. The existence of this cataclysm monster was beyond Suer's comprehension. The battle with this creature was bloody. It went on day and night. At the end of this battle, everyone died. Even Suer, awakened S-class, was unable to defend himself. As a weakling, he could only watch as the monster tried to deliver the final blow. However, a girl jumps out of nowhere and cuts off the monster's arm with a slashing sword strike, saving Suer's life. The guy is surprised that Hong Yu is still alive. The girl is ready to fight to the end, but she asks Suer to back off while she restrains the monster. The girl tries to attack the monster, but despite the severed arm, the monster is still fast enough and attacks Hong Yu herself. But she manages to dodge. All this gives the girl time to take a fighting stance with her sword. She then delivers lightning-fast blows to the monster's still intact arm. She climbs onto the monster's surviving arm and starts running up it. The girl has a brilliant plan in her opinion. Since the monster has one eye, if she can blind it, Suer will have a chance to survive. However, the monster seems to have understood Hong Yu's intentions and calmly and easily dodged the girl's dissecting attack. All wounded and their last strength, Suer is watching the fight, and at this moment he pays attention to the monster's muzzle. At this moment, Suer sees the monster smiling while dodging the girl's attack. The guy even thinks regretfully about the monster mocking the pitiful humans. After the attack, the girl lands on a ladder made of earth created by the earth climbing technique. The guy doesn't want to leave the girl and calls her to run away with him. Hong Yu looks at him with that look that, well, nothing can be done to you. And then she starts running at the monster, attacking it with various styles. Landing after attacking behind the monster and putting her sword back in its scabbard, the girl declares that the guy really never listens to anyone. While the monster recovers from the attack on his eye, Hong Yu picks up the guy and says they need to run. Suer wonders if anyone else survived besides them. But the girl gives a negative answer because they're the only ones who survived. Clenching his teeth in anger and frustration, the guy can't believe this could have happened to him. However, it's still not all the disappointment in his life. As the monster impales Hong Yu, the monster pierces the girl's stomach with its tentacle. It's like an alien is coming out of her, and she helplessly just looks at her stomach. The monster grabs the girl and pulls her towards him. Hong Yu yells for the guy to run as fast as possible. It was at that moment that Suer finally realized that this frightening creature was not bullying them, but just playing with them. The monster right in front of the guy shows the spot where he lost his right arm, and then uses regeneration, easily regenerating his arm. The monster then, with the simplest of moves, lightning fast reaches Hong Yu, and she immediately dies. Suer, seeing how the girl died, becomes indescribably furious. His body covered in yellow lightning, his eyes burning. He uses all of his remaining strength, plus the strength generated from the rage, and rushes at the monster. Suer throws a huge fireball at the monster, but at the very last moment, the monster easily dodges the attack, as if continuing to play with the guy. Suer falls to the ground. He was left with no strength. He put all his strength into his last attack, and even so he missed and achieved nothing. All his comrades fell as he soon fell. However, even so the guy didn't give up. Already barely alive, he continued to crawl towards Hong Yu on his last breath. All he could think about was that if rebirth existed, he swore that he would do anything to end this disaster once and for all, as well as be with Hong Yu. That was his last thought as the monster got tired of toying with him and just crushed the guy with his foot. Suddenly, the guy hears his name repeated several times. He opens his eyes. They are wet because tears of frustration and imminent end keep pouring from his eyes. The person who called out his name was his friend. He was even happy that the guy finally woke up, because he was already worried if something had happened to Suer. Suer was very surprised to see the guy. He even froze in place. But the red-haired guy grabs Suer's hand and says that they need to get away from this place since people are dying outside. The guy, of course, follows his classmate, but still doesn't understand what could be causing people to die. However, the answer to his question came to him instantly and clearly. Monsters attacked the school, and the students tried their best to escape from them, but not all of them succeeded. Some students were defeated and were eaten by the monsters. Suer notices an incredibly huge monster on the ceiling that is already sticking its tongue out to eat. Then the guy finally starts to realize his current situation, as it seems to be the attack of the cataclysm monsters in the school before the gate was even opened. Suer starts to run away with the rest of the students, wondering if what he asked for at the end has happened, and he has actually been reborn 10 years ago. The boy could hardly remember what had happened then, but it seemed to him that this was how he had gotten out of school last time. However, not everyone had survived last time, as the tentacles of the bloodthirsty monster had blocked this corridor. Even after 10 years, he still remembered all those cries for help, and how one of the girls called out to him to help. But last time, he and the others didn't have the courage to save the students because it was the first time they faced these monsters. So fear and instincts made them choose to run away. Not a good time found when to think of Hong Yu's demise and last words, as well as her death. However, all these thoughts and regrets gave the guy a determination that he didn't have last time. In his past life, he didn't know that he would awaken his abilities, much less the fact that he would become the strongest awakened S-grade and 9th stage mage. Normally, awakened ones were distinguished based on two characteristics. The first is the assessment of their potential strength by rating, starting from S-class and going all the way up to F-class. The second is their level of skill proficiency, which is divided into 9 stages. Stage 1 uses magic bombs. Stage 3 uses magic blasts. The strongest stage, Stage 9, uses emerald flashes of flame. Suer was wondering which stage he was currently at when everything had just started. After looking at his hands and trying to check it, he realizes that only the first stage is available to him for now. Taking a look at the monster, he notices that his abilities are too limited right now, so defeating this monster alone is hardly something he can do. However, the red-haired guy grabs Suer's hand and wonders why he got up, and if Suer wants to go back and save the guys. The guy tells Suer not to be foolish, because even those who were captured by that monster were stronger than Suer. Suer only regretfully realizes that the guy is right. Even if Suer goes to help the guys now, there will be only one end. But didn't he follow the path of a hero? Because if he follows the path from his past life, at least he will be able to share what he knows. He had almost made up his mind to run away again when suddenly, all of a sudden, someone's shout for the monster to let the disciples go comes to Suer. As it turned out, the two teachers, completely useless and powerless, grabbed some cleaning brushes and rushed towards the monster to protect their students. The teacher also manages to reprimand Suer and Wang Xiang that they have no brains at all for standing there. The teacher tells them to get out of here immediately using the escape routes. Suer sees how Teacher Niu and Teacher Ma didn't escape anywhere. They were the strictest teachers in this school. Among themselves, the students called these teachers Oxhead and Horsetail. After the disaster, they disappeared without a trace, but some of the students said they saw them fleeing from the scene. It was even rumored that they were ashamed to return to the school because they were unable to protect the students at the critical moment. So much were they hated by the students and lied so brazenly when these teachers were so brave and responsible that they didn't leave the students in trouble. Suer also didn't think that the teachers had actually died fighting for their students. Of course, all the teachers' attacks against the monster with brush and mop failed. One of the students, with tears in her eyes, bound hand and foot by the monster, begs the teacher to save her. From this helplessness, the teachers can't do anything and yell at the monster to let their student go immediately. The teachers then poke their brushes and mops at the monster again as it opens its horrifying maw to eat them. The monster easily throws off the two teachers, who are obviously no match for the monster, as they are ordinary people who can't compete with the cataclysmic monster. One of the teachers is still on his feet, but the monster sees this and attacks him to finish him off. The teacher got into a protective stance instinctively, even though he knew it wouldn't help. However, nothing happened. When the teacher opened his eyes, he realized why the attack didn't reach him. Suer, their student, had held back the monster's attack. The teacher reprimanded the kid that what a rascal he was. The teacher, on the other hand, told Suer to run away, and now they have one more problem because of him. Why does this rascal never listen to the teacher, especially now is not the time to be stubborn? Suer only replies that maybe it's all because the teacher called him quite rightly that he's a stubborn rascal. Suer then uses all the strength he has at the moment and attacks the monster, his hands wrapped in blue lightning. Suer, even with the meager strength he had now, barely managed to push the monster away. However, the monster would be quite hard to defeat, as the monster immediately attacks the guy with a slashing strike, but the guy somehow manages to dodge. The bloodthirsty monster is not going to stop there and attacks the poor guy who decided not to run away like last time. Suer manages to dodge these almost deadly attacks with great difficulty, even though he is only at the first stage now, but even this first stage gives him a lot of strength and speed, which once again helps him dodge the deadly attacks. However, he is still an awakened mage, and mages are not known to be very strong in close combat. That's why mages rely on spells, but awakened mages of the first class suffer from a lack of mana. All awakened are divided into 6 main classes: marksman, support, assassin, warrior, mage, and tank. Mages are considered the weakest of the first class. This is due to the fact that mana reserves are too limited. There are 2 ways to realize the abilities of mages. The first is to spend your mage to create magical element-forming abilities. This ability is incredibly powerful, but the downside of this is that it uses up too much mana. The second is to manipulate the elements of the elements around to create skills. This option has lower mana consumption than the first. Due to the lack of mana, first-class mages cannot conjure strong abilities and control a lot of element. To explain it in simple terms, the lack of mana prevents you from casting spells when you want to. Since Suer is only a level 1 mage, it would be more effective for him to control the elements of the weaker elements to defeat the monster. The monster for some reason gives him time to think, which he uses to his advantage. He thinks about the fact that the earth elemental elements are prevalent around him right now, but the school building is concrete, so it would be hard for him to control it with his current mana. The fire elements are too few for him, and they are useless against this monster. The kid ponders what he should do then, what to do in this situation. However, the monster is tired of waiting, and he attacks the boy again. Suer manages to dodge again, but he notices that it seems to be a deceptive maneuver from the monster, and he attacks him with a second tentacle. From this blow, the guy can no longer dodge, and the monster throws him upwards, throwing him quite a distance. While the guy was trying to recover from the fall, the monster had already opened its mouth and was about to take a bite out of the guy. However, the fearful Wang Xiang comes to the rescue of a friend and uses a fire extinguisher against the monster and then asks the guy to run away. When the guy saw the aftermath of the fire extinguisher in front of him, he had a brilliant idea in his head. Turning around, he asks the teachers to pick up the students and leave the place immediately. The teachers, of course, are overly responsible men. They start to resent this fact and don't understand what the guy is up to. Besides, they certainly can't leave their student to be torn apart by a monster. However, the rascal Suer just teaches to believe him this time, as he will be able to defeat the monster and knows how they all get out safely. One of the teachers still resists, but the other teacher sees the guy's determination and asks the man to trust Suer. The boy remembers New's teacher telling the students about a very interesting reaction in one of his classes. He didn't remember the details, but the teacher said something about a mixture of homogeneous powder and air. The monster doesn't want to let them get away and attacks the annoying guy again. However, the guy isn't so easy to stop anymore. If you mix that same powder and air in a confined space, and then he's going to set it on fire. Teacher New seems surprised that Suer's dummy was listening to him. The guy then sets it on fire and thinks it will help create a dust explosion. However, Teacher New yells at him because he thinks he's an idiot and that he didn't listen to the teacher well because the powder in the fire extinguisher is inert. So naturally, with his useless attacks, he only wasted mana, but the monster jumps out of the fog again and is about to finally eat the young man. However, this time he is saved by Wang Xiang and the two teachers, who pushed the monster away with their bodies. The guy is a real lucky guy. Teacher New yells at his student that he's a fool for wanting to set the fire extinguisher on fire. How did he even think of that? And did he really teach Suer that? New's teacher reprimands him for daring to risk everyone's lives by using a reaction that he doesn't even remember the consequences of. The monster behind their backs doesn't care about their scolding and tries to attack again. The monster is already pitiful even. Suer suddenly notices a bare wire, and he has another crazy idea. The teachers notice that the monster is attacking them again. This time it already seems to be the end. Suer pushes the teachers aside and rushes at the monster at full speed. The monster attacks the guy again. Suer dodges and catches the second attack of the monster with his hands, who decided to do the same thing as last time, but this time the guy is ready for it. Suer notes that since he's not that good at chemistry, then he decides to use physics. His palm starts to emit like electricity. Suddenly, he shoots electricity from his hand, which flies towards the monster. When the electricity attack hits the monster's face, the guy's electricity also hits the tentacle he's holding in his hand. From such a monstrous attack by a mage, even at first stage, the monster got all gnarled up and then fell down. Teachers who are worthy of their title of teacher immediately rush towards their student. Teachers wonder what it was, how the current went through the guy and didn't hurt him. The other teacher wondered how the guy controlled the dust and how he was able to create a flame in his hand. Even Wang Xiang is surprised. Is Suer a super strong guy like in the movies? All their questions are interrupted by the rain that suddenly fell, but it wasn't a normal rain as it was black rain. All of this only helps Suer realize that in exactly 2 weeks, the first gate will open. It was after the gate opened that countless monsters would pour into the world, and in an instant, Jiancheng would be completely destroyed. The story that happened in his past life is once again on the same tracks. And Suer once again remains as pitiful in the eyes of the creature that so carelessly massacred him and his guild last time. Suer is left to watch helplessly as the disaster repeats itself once again. Wang Xiang calls out to the guy. He says that possessing such superpowers is not bad. Wang Xiang thinks that the guy was afraid that his life would be in danger if the others found out that Suer is from the Awakened Ones. Wang Xiang even declares that if evil organizations try to kidnap a friend for experiments, he won't let them hurt him. Suer only calls the guy an idiot, but Wang Xiang is serious. He declares that although he is a timid person, greedy and a bit stupid, but Suer should remember that Wang Xiang's family is rich, so they will be able to gather capable guys to guard Suer. The guy feels a weight on his shoulders because only he knows about the terrible things that will happen very soon. But suddenly, Wang Xiang's words resonate in his soul and a plan matures. It turns out Wang Xiang wants to gather capable guys to guard the guy. That means you can find your comrades as soon as possible. Will Suer be able to gather his guys, and what will he do next? What do you think? Soon all students and teachers return to school as if the horrors and deaths of students and teachers had never happened. Some seats in the classroom were empty. Wang Xiang sat at his desk and was bored. The only thing he was happy about was that classes were finally over. The others in the class were also behaving as usual. The only question that Wang Xiang was worried about was where Suer had gone. Wang Xiang looked at the police officers who were interviewing the teachers and thought about his friend. Wang Xiang even speculated that Suer might not trust him. He even speculated that Suer thought that he would report him to the government. But here, his musings were interrupted when a message was sent to his phone. When he was just starting to think badly of his friend, Wang Xiang received a message from Suer. The friend suggested to meet at Kongqi food stall on Changfeng Street. After arriving, Wang Xiang looked at the establishment's signboard again to make sure he had arrived at the right place. He froze in place. From behind him, his friend called out to him, much to Wang Xiang's surprise. In the Kongqi, it was business as usual. Customers were having fun, looking at the beautiful waitress and telling stories. Suer, on the other hand, did not hesitate to get to the point. Wang Xiang was surprised that Suer wanted to start an organization and asked Wang Xiang for help. Suer only confirmed these words. Wang Xiang was the son of Wang Defa, a real estate tycoon in Jiancheng. Wang Xiang immediately points out that everything can be solved with finances and documents, but they still have college exams this year. Therefore, Wang Xiang does not understand why Suer would want to do this. Suer didn't dodge the questions and immediately told his friend that soon the college entrance exams won't mean anything at all. Especially tomorrow, monsters would already appear here, and there would only be more monsters in the future. In a month's time, Jiancheng will be hit by the first wave of monsters. Hundreds of monsters will invade the city. The monsters will destroy Jiancheng, leaving only ruins from the city. Wang Xiang is shocked, plus if the monsters destroy Jiancheng, he doesn't understand why Suer would create an organization. Suer explains that all this is needed is to stop the wave of monsters. In a month, he plans to gather a group of future awakened ones. These people haven't encountered monsters yet. Therefore, it will be easier to hire these people now and bring them up to speed later. Also, according to Suer's plans, there are many ordinary people needed, who don't have abilities so that they can help develop weapons against the destruction monsters. And all this will also help to monetize the resources of the other world. In addition, there will be many different guilds in the future, and one should create their own as soon as possible. Wang Xiang believes Suer, but only because he is his friend. Suer is happy because he knew that Wang Xiang is the only one he can trust. Wang Xiang started to turn his head around, looking for the waitress. He didn't understand why it took so long for the waitress to come to their table. Meanwhile, the waitress was serving other customers. One of the visitors remarked that the place was doing well, but the atmosphere seemed kind of strange to him. Wang Xiang wondered why Suer had chosen this particular place. Did this place really sell a specialty dish? Business was booming here. However, Suer informed his friend that they had come to this particular eatery for a reason. After all, this was the place where one of the future awakened ones worked. He glanced at the waitress, confirming his words. Wang Xiang is surprised, and is it really that beautiful waitress? He wonders how Suer knew that she would soon have abilities. Suer's face is covered in cold sweat, and he reports that he can just feel the aura of the awakened ones. In fact, Suer just couldn't tell his friend that he came from the future. After all, ordinary people would find it delusional. Blushing all red, Suer notes that this beautiful girl is not a random waitress. Wang Xiang is tired of waiting already, and he doesn't understand anything, so he decides to place his order through the app. In the future, the girl will become the world's only S-rank healer, and will be known as the Forbidden Priest Kong Yiyao. As a rule, awakened supports are the lowest in class because of their weak combat abilities, and awakened healers are the weakest among the support. However, despite all this, Kong Yiyao possesses strong healing abilities. Normally, healing magic works by speeding up metabolism, but Kong Yiyao's healing magic uses the principle of regeneration. The girl could use her ability on several people at a time. All of this allowed her guild, the Saint Palace Knights, to become the best guild among S-rank awakened guilds and stand on par with S-rank battle-awakened guilds. If only Kong Yiyao had been in Suer's guild at that moment, perhaps they wouldn't have lost. Wang Xiang apparently likes to eat, and he was too tired to wait for the waitress to approach them, and he was also having trouble with the app, so he yelled at the entire place. The customers, who had been having fun and pleasant conversations recently, were extremely unhappy with this behavior and looked at the guys angrily. Kong Yiyao also paid attention to the guys after this shouting. Suer asked his friend to be quiet. They were already being stared at angrily because of this shouting. Kong Yiyao, after that shouting, Wang Xiang finally came to their table. She apologized for making them wait so long. The waitress announced that she was ready to take their order. The guys were clearly unprepared for this, and their gazes went clearly not into the waitress's eyes. Suer, with a red face because the girl was so close to him, started muttering his order. Kong Yiyao decided to clarify and asked if they needed anything else. Suer decided that they didn't need anything else. Right now, Kong Yiyao's character and aura were completely different from how Suer remembered her. Kong Yiyao had once killed a man because he touched her. Therefore, Suer was unaccustomed to seeing the girl so timid before her awakening. The guy speculated that perhaps Kong Yiyao would be changed by the events that would happen to her in the future. Deciding not to miss his chance, Suer called out to Kong Yiyao. Turning around, the girl asked if they wanted to order anything else. Suer went on the attack and asked Kong Yiyao to talk to her after her shift was over. The girl even got embarrassed, and all the men stared angrily at Suer. The guy didn't understand why absolutely everyone was looking at him like that at all. Kong Yiyao embarrassedly agreed to Suer's proposal. However, the malevolent gazes of the men did not leave the guy. Suer looked around and breathed a sigh of relief and was glad that Kong Yiyao had agreed. Otherwise, the situation would have been extremely awkward. However, the visitors' reactions were too strange. It was as if Suer had broken some unspoken rule. Here he would be surprised when he found out about the idols. Wang Xiang grabbed his friend's hand and asked him to look at something. Suer was simply shocked when he saw what was on Wang Xiang's phone. On the phone, he saw many pictures of the girl. An anonymous user had posted a photo of the girl. He informed everyone that he had quietly registered on the site and secretly took pictures of the beauty and went unnoticed. Suer was surprised by the fact how many photos of Kong Yiyao had been posted on this forum. The guy's head is on, and he immediately realizes that this is most likely the work of the guys who recently threw evil glances at him. All the men kept their eyes on the girl. Suer absolutely could not understand them and their behavior. Suer even thought that perhaps Kong Yiyao's character had changed because of all these guys. If it was all because of that, then the first thing the guy would want to do was to accept her into the team before the girl's character changed. Except from the looks of it, the girl has already changed a lot. I wonder if she will break Suer's arm or phone when she finishes her shift and meets up with Suer. And that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you would like to see a sequel, please like, subscribe to the channel, and leave your wishes in the comments. You can also subscribe to Telegram to know about new videos. Bye everybody.